I'm Pastor Ron Phillips, and I'm excited about 2 new books we've written for Strain Communications. I think you're going to be excited too. Can you imagine a Southern Baptist preacher baptized in the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues, now writes books on the baptism of the Holy Spirit and speaking in tongues? It's an exciting thing. Let me say a word about the book, Everyone's Guide to the Baptism of the Holy Spirit. I bring a unique perspective because in the charismatic world, Assembly of God, Church of God, Pentecostal world, we often think of the baptism of the Holy Spirit as speaking in tongues. And it's 2 separate things. Now, it may result in speaking in tongues, but the baptism of the Holy Spirit is far more than that. I'm convinced it is the way God comes out of eternity, out of that dimension, out of that realm, and marks us on this earth, seals us and marks us for eternity. I believe it is God's release of everything that's in heaven to the earth now. I believe it's the answer to Jesus' prayer when he said, "Your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven." I believe Ephesians 1 teaches us that the baptism of the Holy Spirit marks us with the eternal kingdom and releases the kingdom power and gifts in our life. Now the book on speaking in tongues. What's different about it, Pastor Ron? Well, I think you'll find that it is a clear teaching that will prove, number one, that these gifts have not ceased and that they're still available for everyone now. But I think the most striking thing you're going to find is my instruction about Nicodemus. When Jesus spoke with Nicodemus, he said, "The Spirit blows where it wills, and you hear the sound thereof, but you cannot hear from where it comes or where it goes. So is everyone who is born of the Spirit." Well, I began to read that in the Greek New Testament, and I saw that that word sound was not the normal word for sound. It was the word phone. We get our word phonetics from it, which means Jesus looked at this Pharisee and he said, when you hear another language phonetically being spoken by the Spirit, then you'll understand that the Spirit is now blowing and moving in the power that can release heaven on earth. I have a lot of unique things because people question that, did Jesus believe in speaking in tongues? Why didn't Jesus speak in tongues? I think we answer all those difficult questions. Plus we tell them how to be baptized in the Spirit in book 1, and we tell them how to speak in tongues and why they need to in book 2. I'm quite excited about these 2 tremendous opportunities to write, to study, and to release 2 decades of truth. Since I was baptized in the Holy Spirit, God has released in my life. You see, these things are more. I think the charismatic movement got stalled around the gift of tongues and never went into the fullness of the baptism of the Holy Spirit. Furthermore, I don't think people ever understood the power of speaking in tongues and the peace that it can bring to a life. Nicodemus knew it. In Isaiah 28, God had said, with stammering lips, another tongue, I'll speak to this people. And he said, this is the rest I want to give you, but you wouldn't hear. Nicodemus heard it come out of Jesus' mouth. I'm going to put a phonetic language in you, and it's going to bring peace in your life. These 2 books deserve your greatest efforts. It will solve the war between evangelicals and charismatics, I believe, and it will be a mighty release of the gifts and power of the Holy Spirit in the lives of others. It can bring revival. It can bring heaven on earth. Help us get this word out.